Welcome back to the Modern Hotelier. We are excited to release this episode with Benjamin Powers, CEO from Visiting Media, where he really focused on upselling immersive assets. David, what was one of the things that stood out to you in this interview?
Well, Benjamin's a pretty cool guy. So from blueberries to birdhouses to immersive technology, it was a great episode. We just learned a lot on how to leverage the technology to actually deliver revenue to the hotel.
Absolutely. And it seems like it's a cheat code for hotel sales teams that they can just put their guests into these hotels, even if there's an event going on, even if the room's dirty, they're, going through renovation or anything like that. This is definitely a cool product, and I'm excited to see it in use when we get a chance. But enjoy the episode and let us know what you think.
All right, enjoy it. Welcome to the Modern Hotelier. Both hosts were honored as top 100 influential people in hospitality. We're bringing you interviews with industry experts, thought leaders, and innovators who are shaping the future of hospitality. Whether you're a seasoned hotel professional or just stepping into the industry, our goal is to provide you with insights, knowledge, and trends that will empower you, the modern hotelier.
Today's episode is sponsored by Visiting Media. Are you ready to revolutionize the way you sell your spaces and experiences? Introducing Sales Hub by Visiting Media, your ultimate platform for immersive sales and hospitality. Imagine leveraging the power of immersive content to ensure customers book quickly and easily. With Sales Hub, your sales team can effortlessly combine stunning immersive assets with all other sales collateral, share them in any way the customer prefers, and distribute them through all your marketing channels. They can also track and measure usage to refine their engagement approach and stay ahead of the competition. This streamlined workflow means your team can focus on what matters most, delivering the best experience for your customers. Plus, our analytics dashboard provides real-time insights into team activities, property performance, and channel distributions. Simplify your sales process and amplify your conversion rates with Sales Hub by Visiting Media. Ready to see it in action? Request a demo today at visitingmedia.com and unlock the full potential of immersive selling.
Steve, who do we have on the program today?
Yeah, David, today we have on Benjamin Powers. Benjamin is the founder and CEO of Visiting Media. Benjamin has over 20 years of experience as an entrepreneur and a recognized expert in immersive selling solutions. Visiting Media offers cutting-edge software products that empower the hospitality industry to revolutionize the way they do business, connect with customers, and outperform competitors. Welcome to the show, Benjamin.
Thank you very much. Excited to be here.
So, Benjamin, we're going to go through three areas. We're going to get to know you better, learn about your background, dive into your career, and then get into some industry topics. Sound good?
Sounds great. Let's do it.
So what was your first job?
First real job was picking blueberries. Got fired pretty quick from that. And then I've only held one other job since then as a radio sales guy when I was in my 16s, 15s, 17s, about that age. Other than that, it's been running my own businesses and inventing products and whatnot.
What's something that you wish you were better at?
Boy, managing people. I thought I'd be good at that. My journey to becoming a CEO was not through schooling, or it was just happenstance. And I was really excited at the beginning and then realized, boy, managing people is challenging. So it's an area where I can constantly push myself to learn and wake up every morning a little bit better, but I'm still way behind those who are excellent at it. So that's an area I wish I could step up a bit in.
Do you have a role model?
Boy, several role models, but honestly, in life and business, I'd have to say my uncle, my mom's brother, very successful businessman, but wonderful guy. And anytime I've got a challenge, really anywhere, I go to him, and his advice is very consistent and steady and full of wisdom. So definitely him.
That's great. What's a luxury you can't live without?
Ooh, flying. I'm a pilot, been flying since I was 17. Fly almost every day after work, going to go out this afternoon. And so that's definitely a luxury that I'm addicted to beyond measure at this point.
So what's a place that you've never been to that you would most like to go?
Boy, we've been talking about Portugal, Croatia, those sorts of areas in Europe. I'd really love to go to Patagonia. I think would be awesome. Yeah.
So if you had your own late night talk show, who would your first guest be?
Boy, that's a tough one. Probably Billy Joel.
Oh, cool. Good one. All right. Last one. If you have a time machine, you can go into the future, into the past, which way are you going and what year are you going to?
Ooh, definitely into the past. What year? Boy, again, not super exciting here, but probably back to about the time planes were just starting to get on the scene. So that'd be, the early 1900s. But that's a tough one. I wish I had these questions before today. I would have thought through it a bit, but
We like the spontaneous
I think the
stuff.
future would scare me to death. So I'd probably go back. Plus, I don't want to know what my kids are doing in 20 years.
Right. That's funny.
Oh, that's great. And I got to say, I went to Portugal last year. If you get a chance, go. It is one of my favorite places.
Everybody's telling me just amazing things. So I hear
it's
you.
incredible.
Yeah.
So that was great. Now we're going to go into your background a little bit more, your personal details. So your hometown is Carlton, Oregon. Is that correct?
That's correct. I'm sitting here right now.
So how did that shape you into who you are today?
Well, hometown was actually south of here, about 30 miles in the Willamette Valley. But then I moved to Portland about 1999, right in there. Lived in the city for a while, started the company there. And then when the pandemic hit, I actually also lost my mother unexpectedly and just kind of was thinking about life and what matters to me. And I owned this property out here in the Willamette Valley, and my wife and I decided to move out here. So Carlton is our absolute hometown now. My kids are growing up here. But this place is really peaceful. And one of the things I love to do the most, probably can see the yellow pad over there. I wake up every morning, 4:30, 5 o'clock, get my cup of coffee, and I sit right there and I develop product. And then I spend my days talking to executives at hospitality. I've got RLJ in an hour, Remington after that, Pyramid after that with the exec team. That's today. But we talk about their challenges and problems. And then I sit down every morning and I work on solutions. And I'm able to inject that right into our product development team and push things out sometimes within a week or two. So this place, that wasn't your question, but this place I have found insanely valuable in getting down to the ground of what I call my being and just being at peace, where you can think audaciously, and not have to worry about the world punching you in the face, which does happen. But for the most part, it's pretty relaxing. So.
I love that.
That's great. So you went to Santa Clara University School of Business and majored in business administration and management. What made you decide to go there, and what made you decide to choose that major?
Yeah, I actually chose economics, and I only lasted a year. But I was already running. It was my fourth or fifth business by the time I got to Santa Clara. So I spent a year studying that, and I learned a bit, but I realized that a lot of what I was learning, I was already doing every day. And, my tuition just became all the mistakes I made. But I decided to leave Santa Clara, moved back to Oregon. The intent was to go back to school. I've never gone back. So I have 1 year of college at Santa Clara. But yeah, that's the background. And I just thought, I'm already doing this. I already know what I want to do. I might as well learn in the trenches. And so that was the math.
And you started a photography company while you were at Santa Clara, right? And it became one of the largest wedding photography studios in the United States.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you've been an entrepreneur your whole life, but was that kind of that first business that you started where you're like, holy cow, I can make some good money doing this and really grow a company?
No, actually, it's way down the road. So I started a birdhouse manufacturing business when I was 8 or 9. And we developed custom birdhouses based on the bird you want to attract to your yard. This is before the internet. So you could pick the wood. Well, we selected the wood, the pitch, the stick length, the hole size, and that would attract certain birds. So I did that first. Then I was regularly at the Boys and Girls Club. And so I bought into vending machines and put them in the Boys and Girls Club to make money off the candy. And then I went to a party at the Boys and Girls Club and saw the DJ, asked what he got paid. It was a lot more than the candy gig. So I decided to become a DJ. And then I was at a wedding DJing and I asked the photographer, what do you get paid? And he made 4 times as much and carried half the gear. I thought that's a better deal. So in 1994, I started a wedding photography business. By 2000, we were by far, in a way, one of the largest in the United States. And we started buying and investing in event facilities. And that's what led to this current company and the vertical integration of how do we outperform as an event facility. But that's the daisy chain from it was just selfishness, right?
Yeah.
Guys making more money and less work. I better try that. So.
Hey, that's great.
That's incredible. So you launched Visiting Media Foundation. It's obviously close to your heart. Can you tell us more about why you started it and about how you're spreading the love of wallowing? I think I'm saying that right. Could you just give us a little more information there?
Yeah, there's an interesting story there. I'll try to keep it short, but my mother was a up and coming watercolorist. My grandmother, who's 102 next week, is still painting and teaching. Up until 2 years ago, was teaching globally. Has written, I think, 15 books on watercolor. So she's nationally renowned. So big arts family. And right after my daughter was born, literally a week or two after, my mother died suddenly of a heart attack, totally suddenly and completely unexpected. And so as probably a healing process, I wanted to do something. And so the idea was to start a nonprofit that supported arts awareness out here in our neck of the woods here in Yamhill County. And that sort of morphed into a bigger foundation just to promote wellness in the community. And so now we have set up an endowment and we fund local entrepreneurs who are running their own nonprofits. There's several. I just actually met last night with one of our board of directors for a group that funds CF research, cystic fibrosis. But the idea is to just promote and inject investment in our area in any way that we can build wellness for our community. And there's a long list of opportunities in that area. We also started a vineyard. It's right behind me up there, and are building a tasting room winery, all owned by the foundation. And then all the proceeds, 100% of the proceeds, are going to go back into the foundation. So again, back to your question about what's the benefit I found of living here. It's just such an incredible spot for, in general.
That's awesome. So now we're going to get more into your career a little bit, how you became the CEO of Visiting Media. But before Visiting Media, as we've heard, you have quite the entrepreneurial background. You said your first business was at 5, right?
I would say the first real thing where I was actually making decent money. I loved baseball. I loved baseball cards. So I started a custom baseball card company with my best buddy, Lindsay, who's still my best friend and is an executive at our company now. And we built baseball card holders, wood cases, sold them in the Beckett magazine. And I think we were 7 or 8. And that led to the birdhouse thing I told you about. But all of those were actually very successful. At least it felt like it at the time. That was probably the first true business where I had to worry about profit and loss.
How did you get that entrepreneurial gene? Like, how did you, at 5, 7 years old, you're like, well, I'm just going to start my own company. Like, how did that come into your life? Were your parents entrepreneurs? Did they just encourage you to just get out there and do your own thing? How did this get installed in you?
That's a question I've actually been trying to think about as I've tried to figure out really what I want to do and who I am and what drives me, because a lot of being an executive is got to go through coaching. You're trying to figure out really your purpose as a person and align that with your company. So I've actually been thinking more about that now than ever. And I think I was just born that way. I mean, there's a constant desire, no matter what I did, to improve on or to find a 0 to 1. It wasn't about making it better. It was about doing it in a completely different way that sort of redefined the way we do things. I live every day, kind of, at least in relation to our company and how the industry is today and where it's going. I sort of live 5 to 10 years from now in my brain. And then when I get out into the world, like, oh my God, we're still doing it this way. We're still sending email attachments. We're still doing RFPs like this. So my mind is already like, here's the way it should be, and I've just never not had that. Also, it could have been put to a lot of really bad uses and directions. And I think I just got really lucky. My mom told me one time, I asked her, why did you let me, drive across the country when I was 16 with my best friend going to Billy Joel concerts for 6 months or whatever she let me do? And she said, I realize if I told you no, you're going to do it anyway. And the odds of you dying are pretty low. And the odds of you learning a ton are pretty high. And of course, this is quite a while back, but I think it just came down to part of who I was. And I don't really know how. It's like with you or David or anyone, there are things about us that just make us who we are.
I agree. It's interesting. You grow up, I've got 3 younger brothers, and everyone says we don't know where did you come from? Kind of like, where did you come from?
Same story. I'm like, okay, wait a second. What's going on?
Anyway,
Yeah.
So how did you come up with, what was the inspiration behind starting Visiting Media?
Yeah, it was a very specific event. We owned and managed quite a few wedding and event facilities around Portland, Oregon. And I met a guy named Ben Kaplan. I still remember the name. Came into my office. He worked for Google. He was a Google certified photographer. And this is back, 15 years ago. Their Street View technology had just come out. And he says, I want to sell you essentially this for your event facilities. And I remember the moment I first saw a 360 photograph. Today it sounds funny, but it was the first time ever. It's like the moment, July 1st, 2007 when I got my iPhone, the first iPhone, it was just a paradigm shift of what's possible. And it was crazy in my mind. Like, oh, whoa, okay, hold on, what's going on here? And I wanted to figure out why my body and brain felt the way it did when I saw that for the first time, that immersive visual. But I realized pretty quickly the way Google did it was not the way that salespeople needed it done. And it's more about the distribution and the ability to, as a salesperson, use that visual tool when selling, not just having it. Having it doesn't drive ROI. And so I thought, okay, really powerful media. How do we encapsulate that in a vehicle that allows me as a sales guy who hates technology to drive revenue? Like, that's where the key is. And so we built this early model of our legacy platform. We have a next generation platform now, and it worked very, very well. Like, we saw, I don't know, it's 50, 60, 70% jump in revenue overnight. Every deal we did, every phone call, every email, was there email then? I think there was, but everything just boop, boop, jumped up, so we thought we had something there. So we refined that for our own salespeople, and then delivered a V1 to our competitors. We actually got our competitors together and said, okay, we want to try this. They were our first customer advisory board, if you will. And it worked for them. And next thing you know, we're like, all right, we're going to sell this for $20 a month and provide this ongoing service. And it started to go and grow and grow. And it was 2017 when I sold off that last company and decided to go all in here. But that's kind of how it came along. It was just this aha moment and the feeling I had of clarity about this place I'd never been to. I wanted to inject that into a sales process.
That's awesome. I love hearing that. So for the listeners or viewers that might not be familiar with Visiting Media, can you give us a background of what you all do?
Yeah. A lot of people, when they look from the outside in, think we're a virtual tour company, but our interest is creating incremental and new revenue for hospitality, for hotels and resorts, that really is not possible to obtain without this type of product. So it's really a greenfield, new way to drive actual additional revenue. But we are a software company, through and through. We're dedicated to simplifying how hotels and resorts and management companies and ownership groups sell. But our software is really tailor-made for human beings that are doing that job, whether they're property level, regional, call center, global travelers. And so we have these different levels of software. But if I'm a hotel DOS or regional, I come to work on a Monday, I click on this thing, loads up, and then every phone call I have, every email, every proposal, I'm utilizing functionality within this suite to place immersive experiential media, not just virtual tours, into everything they're doing. And it's funny, we're on a podcast. You can see me, actually. I didn't expect that. But everything we do is so visual, so it's really hard to explain it. I always tell my clients, I can't explain it, I got to show you. But ultimately, it's a way to take, things like virtual tours and harness them through software for salespeople to drive competitive advantage, to help that customer who's never been there get it quicker, become more comfortable, book faster. The customer who is there, but the place is a mess, or there's an event, or you can't get up to the suite, no problem. All those barriers are broken. And you think about the world, think about the total obtainable market for a hotel. A lot of us who work in hospitality, like probably all of you too, having that client in our lobby is like the gold standard, but that's really hard to do anymore. And in fact, it's trending so far the other way that if we can't address all those folks who aren't in the lobby and frankly don't want to come anymore, that's the cool thing, guys, is the data has shifted big time. Like, they don't necessarily want to come. And so that attainable market now is a global market. And if you can deliver the feeling of being there or checking out the room or understanding that cabana, if you can deliver that from the first conversation or even before the first conversation, clients just turn left towards you. They don't even go right. I mean, it's a whole different world. And so I don't even remember the question you asked, but you can tell I get excited.
You answered it.
Yeah. So it's software that distributes sales tools to sales teams and endpoints like Hilton.com or booking engines. It's all managed down to a single source of truth. So if you make a change to anything in your hotel, you change it in one place. It updates every website, every proposal you've ever sent, every salesperson within about 3 seconds. And then all the analytics from all this use is flying back to one place. So you can actually learn things about your market that you couldn't learn before. So that's a high level flyover, but
That was great. So now we've learned a little bit more about your background, how you got to where you are. So now we're going to go into your industry thoughts and how you're helping out the industry. So immersive assets, like you're talking about 360-degree photos, 3D models. I feel like we're going to see more and more of these. In your opinion, how are you differentiating yourself from maybe the newer folks or other companies like that in the industry?
oh man, good question. So I would say we produce immersive assets for our clients that are our software clients, but we don't charge additional for it, which is really uncommon. No, people don't realize that until they get to know us. But every immersive, let's back up a bit. When we talk about immersive assets, virtual tours are one kind, but virtual tours are like video productions. They actually don't work hardly at all for hospitality. What you got to do is boil them down to their ingredients. So for example, a 360 photo is an ingredient in a virtual tour, but that photo is actually more powerful than the production because you can use the photo everywhere. So what we do is look at, okay, what is immersion? And when I say what is immersion, I mean, what are the immersive things out there that will help you sell your hotel quicker to me? Because there's a lot of things that don't fall on that list. There's 360 photography. There's 3D modeling. Those are obtainable today and pragmatic. Coming soon, there's mixed reality, social, there's all this stuff coming, right? But all that stuff that's there today and popular will be obsolete very, very fast. And everything that I was using 2 years ago or that we started the company with is already gone. So we're more interested in the data behind which of these things actually works and how to apply it, when to apply it in the buying cycle, and really how to use it. And that's sometimes as complex as what device are you on, how old are you, what market are you in, what brand hotel are we promoting. But we've got all that data. We're the only company in the world that's built that body of data. And so when we go to a Hyatt, well, let's take Pyramid. I have a meeting with Pyramid here in an hour. We're going to be able to show them how most of the virtual tours their hotels have bought on their own are going to harm their revenue. We can actually show them how they're using it incorrectly and then create the protocols for how to use it correctly. And if they don't have the assets, at least they can acquire them from a vendor where they can hand them the rule book and say, here's the technology we need, a specific way to create it. We also do all that, but again, we do it complementary. So we do produce millions and millions of square foot of virtual tour assets a month. But if the hotel already has it or they have a vendor already, great. We don't have a bone in that fight. So we're more interested in taking all that stuff and loading it into a vehicle that manages distribution and adds a ton of superpower functionality on top of the immersion. I'll give you one quick example there. Actually, I'll give you 3 quick examples. If I send you a virtual tour right now of my restaurant because you're interested in my restaurant, you get it, great, you see it, you see the restaurant. If I send you the menu for the restaurant and I attach the virtual tour inside the menu, which our software does like that, it's about 10 times as effective of getting you to go to that restaurant because you're reading about the food, which is immersion, you're thinking about it, and you can see the restaurant. If I add my voice on top saying, Steve, thanks for your interest. Here's our menu. You can tap over to the right and walk the menu, check out the patio. The view's amazing. And there's a little video here from our chef, and I put my voice in it. It goes sky high. The odds of you booking and not looking around, not shopping around, just through the roof. It's multi-sensory immersion. We can combine all that together in an RFP that goes out to David, and I'm the DOS, and he's never met me before. He's looking at 10 RFPs on a Tuesday morning, and there's mine where I'm welcoming him, saying hi, showing him the view from the air, and then giving him the menus and the quote and all that. It's crazy. Anyway, I get very excited about it, but that's the kind of stuff we're doing. But immersion is really multi-sensory. It's, if we were in the room together, we'd be fully immersed. And it smells, it's touch, it's sound, it's thinking, not just visual. So that's where we sit. We're about true immersion in selling and what works, what doesn't. And again, most things don't work. So it's pretty surgical.
Steve and I always love it when the guests answer the next question. So you kind of answered a little bit of the next questions, but could you give an example, maybe a little more specific of either a property or somewhere where they've used the immersive assets and some of the successes? Like you talked about, the journey you just talked about, as you layer on these things, it becomes much more, probably the conversion rate, skyrockets.
Yeah.
Can you give maybe a specific example?
Yeah, for sure. I'll talk about it in maybe two ways. We spend most of our time dealing with the headwind of assumption until we get in the room and until they actually try it. So I have a lot of clients. Like if you looked at my to-do lists, I do a lot of selling. There's probably 200. I won't mention any names. Where for years I've been reaching out and calling, just trying to get in the room. And we have virtual tours. Oh, well, that's great. We can help you. Marriott, for example, recently did something where they gave the hotels an easy way to buy 3D on a one-time basis, which we fully support. And then they put out some messaging that means you don't need visiting media without knowing what we do. And so now we're fighting that headwind, trying to explain, and all the big ownership groups typically use us. And so it's a little of a re-education, but that's one issue. But once we see adoption, we have a 99.7% year-over-year renewal rate. We've had that for 9 years. It's top decile in software. And it's because the technology works. There is no question. We don't build things that don't work. And most of my ideas don't make it from there to the product guys, and they burn the rest of them. I get like 1 or 2 a year. But it's because we try them with our clients and they work. So I'm thinking like on the luxury side, Auberge, we had a property that reported $1 million of ROI within the first month. And that's not uncommon, by the way. We see $1 million ROIs at full service and luxe hotels all the time now. The average ROI is about 35-fold what they pay. Select service hotels, it's 6 figures almost every time. But it's kind of common sense. We've got salespeople. They're all selling. A lot of them are really good too, but they got an arm tied behind their back. They can't use devices, which is where everyone buys these days. They're still sending emails and they're not using immersion at all. They're trying to explain things verbally like their competitor. When you break them free of that, it's a light switch. And all we're really doing is saying, here's what your customers will respond better to. Let's give you a simpler way to give them what they need. And the nice thing about it, we're in hospitality. It's more hospitable. It's more helpful. Like it's what we're on earth to do anyway in hospitality. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I have yet to have a customer, maybe one that was really challenging in terms of adoption, but yet to have a customer say that, no, this didn't work really, really well. It's just getting over that hump where you're in the room and able to be a consultant and, earn their trust. So
I feel like in the immersive space, this is a kind of a space and technology that's moving quickly. And, new updates, new things are coming out all the time. Aside from sitting on your mat and making sure you're ahead of them, how are you staying ahead of these different, how are you staying ahead of the curve?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Let's just stick with virtual tours because that's easy. If we can go off the rails with other sensory immersion, but virtual tours have gone through really 5 or 6 major shifts in the last 15, 20 years since they were invented, 360, 3D. But really what drives that change is a couple of things, but mostly consumer devices. How do we consume virtual tours? So think of virtual reality. I've got an Apple VR headset over there, and I got my iPhone here. Steve, David, do you have a VR headset next to you? No. How many of your friends used their VR headsets this morning?
None that I talked to so far.
Okay. Do you have your phone near you?
I do.
Okay. We turned our ringers off, but we have our phone. Everyone on planet Earth that is a customer of my customer has a smartphone. They're not using VR every morning anymore. And then maybe someday, who knows? I hope not. But so we got to look at pragmatism. Where can we actually deliver immersion and how, and what makes sense? So we see immersion and the speed at which it's changing really driven by how you consume it and also the data behind it. But a more literal answer is there's 360. So that's, this, and there's 3D where I can actually walk into a space and see it dimensionally. And the next leap from there is going to require a different way to engage. You won't really see, in my opinion, major leaps beyond that for a while until there's another like holographic way or intra asset, like you can get inside the asset. And that is coming. I frankly have been inside assets virtually and it's incredibly compelling. So that's coming. And then we'll have to design technology around that. Probably the biggest area that's on the market today is the ability to augment. Like we have a lot of clients where they're building a hotel or they're renovating. And we developed a platform a year ago where you can walk inside that Park Hyatt guest room and then click a button and watch the room just transition to the post renovation, which is happening in a year. And pre-sell the reno, that's never been possible at a low price point. And we made it almost free. So that kind of technology is also coming. But our goal to stay ahead isn't just to stay ahead. Like I said earlier, we care about our customer. Like they're our partner in crime, right? And so our goal is to help them have more superpower, win more deals. And so our innovation is all around how can we eke out a bit more of that? And that's how we stay ahead for the people that we serve.
This is a little bit of a trick question because I also sell technology into hotels, and I know how difficult it is and how difficult it is for them to embrace it. But is there any technology as you travel or you read about that you see that's being adopted outside of your space that excites you?
Outside of hospitality?
No, outside of the immersive space and what you're doing on a day-to-day.
Yes, but there are things we're building now too. I think AI and machine learning. I don't like to talk about AI a lot because I was chatting with our CEO last night, like 10 at night, literally about this, and he was telling me something funny about AI, and I said, that's reel to reel. That's the reel to reel they're at today in like audio world. We're just at the very beginning. We have no clue what's going to happen. It'll be completely different in a year. And so to make any big bets about how it's going to affect the industry, there's a lot of discussion around that, but who knows? But in our world, AI can help salespeople because most great salespeople are busy parents. They don't like tech. You have to be extremely compassionate for those people because they're not going to adopt things, but they also a lot of times are dealing with such volume and they can't do the job they want to do. So where I see AI being so powerful for our clients is it's going to eliminate a ton of stuff that really they should be doing anyway and make it allow it to support the personalization that they really should be doing. That excites me a ton. The other is the way that we can now look at user engagement data and actually start to see patterns through machine learning and AI and other technologies that can tell us insights instantly in real time. Like right now, I've got a demo here, like I said, in 20 minutes. I've got our global analytics dashboard right here. So we're seeing a couple million users every few minutes. And I can actually track them across over 100 hospitality channels, brand.com, all the proposals that our customers are sending out right now, a couple thousand in the last hour, all the analytics flowing together to one dashboard. So if we want to learn about behavior and intent in the buying cycle, we can run that against software that can chug away and say, oh, okay, I see a trend here. And that's like a little gift. When we see a trend that drives revenue or changes consumer behavior, right? Like, okay, now that's a strategy you want to deploy. And so that connection to me in AI and a lot of advanced learning softwares have made that really fun.
The data is so key with AI, and you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, but the data, like a lot of people in our industry, they're probably saying, yeah, I do that. Me too. I get this data. Cool. Big numbers must be good. But it's not true. What does it mean? And what does it mean to me today and to me tomorrow? And that's to us, again, like our customers are our partners in crime. And, we used to do what they do and we want to empower them. So we try to, a lot of times it's just constant education, but taking like that data through that really advanced computing power and breaking it down to a little dashboard. So when I come to work on a Monday as a salesperson, it says, call Josh because, it's just that simple.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. So last question from our end here. You are probably one of the best entrepreneurs that we have had on this show, just lifelong entrepreneur of starting your own businesses. What is advice that you have for maybe some younger entrepreneurs out there?
Boy. Oh, man. Well, if you're entrepreneurial by nature, lean into it. And I think a couple things that really rang true always to me is that you got to always look for the problems to solve and be audacious. I said that earlier, like assume there's no rules. There's this thing where you can get your personality scored. I forget the name of the assessment, but as a CEO, I've gone through it now 4 times. And I was 100% out of 100 on mischievousness. And I'm like, yep, that's right. And I think I was like 2 out of 100 on tradition or something. But, be mischievous, dream big. You hear all this, dream big, you can do anything. I don't know about, that. I think a lot of it is just timing too. But think about the 0 to 1. There's a great book on that. Don't just do it a little better because you're not going to probably be successful. Look for new things that no one's thinking about. And when there is a competitive market like virtual tours, don't sit down there in the market, get above it. So if you're thinking about any area that you're passionate about, how can you become the differentiator that adds value to everyone who's doing that? One layer above, little things like that, but just try to constantly think. And I would also say, give yourself time to think. Like I don't come up with anything good as an inventor unless I'm sitting there, I'm driving the tractor, or I'm in the shower, like these moments where you can just think. And a lot of us don't give ourselves time because we're too busy. And then I guess the last one that came to mind, most of what you're going to achieve as an entrepreneur is going to be done in 2 to 5% of your time. The rest of it's just you doing stuff that doesn't matter. So really think about the things that absolutely drive forward and get good at saying no to everything else. And that includes a lot of the ideas you come up with that you really got to just say no to. And that's a habit that took me 30 years to learn, but it pays off. So
that's incredible advice. That's awesome. So we've been asking you the questions so far this whole podcast. Now we're going to turn the tables and we're going to let you ask David and I a question.
Oh boy. Wish I'd known the format ahead of time.
You're all good. That's part of the fun.
I would have worn a better shirt.
No, you're good.
No, that's funny. Oh boy. I was curious about, like, you guys talked to a lot of people, a lot of different guests. Like, what's one of the most memorable where you walked away from the show probably thinking, thank God that's recorded, but boy, we didn't see that coming. Do you ever have a moment like that on your show?
I'll go first, David.
Okay.
I think this happens more in the live shows that we have. Like this, we kind of have an idea what's going to happen, but we're in a live show. We really don't know what's going to happen or things come up. I remember we were filming in Las Vegas one time with Judy Chen from Dream Hotels, and Anthony Milcurry happened to be in the room with us. We were filming in his suite, but he was, pouring drinks for us. He was putting appetized platters like while we were filming. And it was just one of those episodes that I looked back at recently and I'm like, that was so fun. And, when you have a lot of personalities like that all in one room, I think those are kind of when those memorable experiences come out.
See, that's immersion.
There you go.
So what we're fortunate is that we sometimes get people on the show that we are, a lot of times you become friendly with people in business, but you didn't grow up with them. You weren't, you don't go on vacation with them. You don't always go to baseball games, but you still, when you're at a convention, they're great. You hang out with them, you have a beer. And Andrew Benioff, he's a great guy, but I had no idea, all this time he spent in Japan, all this martial arts stuff about him that just, there was no real reason, I guess, for him to bring it up in at an event or at one of his things or on a call. And I was just blown away. Here's this guy I've known for many, many years that I didn't know. There's all this really cool, incredible stuff. So that's one of the cool things about being on this side of the podcast is learning from people. And, that's why, like I said in the beginning, our format is really trying to make sure that people get to know the guest before we just start talking about, what are the trends and what is this. So yeah, that was pretty cool for me.
I like that format, by the way, a lot. To that point you just made, what is something about you guys that you would say none of your guests know? That really is a part of who you are. It's funny how we have our work facades. I try to make my work facade as close to my non-work facade but we turn this thing off and it's Friday afternoon and we're going to do something that none of my work folks know that I do. What about you guys? What's something unique about you?
Unique.
I can't be the first person that's asked that.
You actually are. I love the outdoors. I am one of those people that I love camping. It sounds kind of crazy for Memorial Day weekend. I went camping and go with my wife, my dog, and my cat. And that is, my cat. Cool. My cat is the biggest camper of our family. He's got his own tent and everything. So
you've seen that thing about the cat that goes on trail, hikes and can.
That's my cat. Yeah. I have a leash. We have a leash. We walk our cat. We have a stroller for our cat when it gets tired. We have a backpack for it as well. But yeah, it's kind of a weird thing about me, but I've always liked cats and my cat just happens to love the outdoors as well. So we bring him along on the trips.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, one thing people don't know about me, and it's kind of like we're saying how you have different, brothers and everybody's different, is that, it was a quick funny story. My father was a mechanic. And I used to work in the gas station, and that's how, I got my first car for $300, cleaned it up, sold it for $700, then used that $700 to buy another car. So I always have that in the back of my head, that kind of upbringing and things. A lot of people, I think, might assume that I kind of came from my father was a business person, so that's why you must be entrepreneurial. So he was a mechanic; he could fix anything. Our thing was, we drove by a pile of trash, you'd see a lawnmower, and he'd be like, "Oh, that lawnmower's still good. Take it out, rebuild the motor and everything." So. And I can't do any of that. So I think a lot of people always assume that I probably, got into business because of my father or something of that nature. And it was just people didn't know what the hell I was doing. When I left my town, people were like, where the hell is he going?
I think a lot of people do what their parents did, but they really hate it. It's not so, and then every now and then they're really good at it. But a lot of times they just hate it, but think they have to.
Yeah. Two of my brothers went into automotive stuff. And I'm like, are you guys crazy? I'm like, our father worked his ass off so we didn't have to go into that. Like, anyway, so I got to.
No, that's great. Great question. So now we're bringing in our producer, John. He's been listening to the episode the whole time, and he's going to ask the final question before we head out here.
All right.
You were talking about how you come up with your ideas in that chair. Very picturesque if you're just listening to this. It sounds very great. I was wondering, we've got so much coming at us all day, and you just talked about making sure to take time to like sit and think and allow yourself to come up with ideas. With all, the things coming at us every day, social media, emails, what have you, what are some of the strategies you use, or what do you do to make sure that you have that time? Because I think most of us don't get enough time to just sit with our own thoughts and come up with ideas.
Yeah. I hear a lot of people talk about this because I've been on my own personal journey with anxiety and all the kind of stuff that people deal with and don't talk about a lot. And then you read all these books, reading all these, When Things Fall Apart, great book. But this is on wellness. I've read it probably 20 times because I can't remember the stuff I want to remember, right? Great. It sounds really great if you can do it, but it's really hard to do, right? And so we're all just people and we're all struggling. I think it's important to understand that, first of all, it's not consistent. But what I try to do really hard is I try to like who I am and laugh at myself a lot and acknowledge that I've got all these quirks and complexities, but that's who I am and it's cool. It's fine, and I've spent a year or two trying to get good at that. I was telling my son yesterday, he has a black belt test coming up tomorrow. He's 12 and he's really nervous. And I said, boy, I got a podcast tomorrow. I was telling him that. This was yesterday driving to school and I'm nervous. I get nervous on every single call still. And I've done thousands of them. I still get nervous. And so I try to pause. I try to breathe. A lot of times I'll just sit and breathe for 5 minutes, do a little light meditation. But mostly it's have compassion for myself and laugh at everything and realize it's just not that serious. We take life really seriously. We're just trying to keep ourselves occupied, to get through the day, really, when you think about it. So, and then I try to have a lot of constant gratitude. That's a big one.
Love that.
Yeah, that's great. Well,
and I fail at it all the time.
Well, that does it for another episode of The Modern Hotelier. Benjamin, this is where you can let people know how to find and connect you, how to find out more about Visiting Media.
Sure. Yeah. Our website's great, visitingmedia.com. Again, we're all about ROI and doing things that you can't do without this technology. So the blog is great on the website, lots of case studies. There's a huge section on return on investment through the words of our customers, a lot of videos of your peers, if you're in the industry, their own words, not ours. And really, I think the best thing that I love to provide the industry is education, the stuff we've learned that I see like superpowers. And whether a client books us or not, or invests with us from a financial standpoint, that's less important than understanding what we know now and we really want to share that. And so a lot of what we do is just education. You can call us and just be frank, like I'm not in a position to buy anything yet, but I just want to learn more. And that's the best kind of lead we can ever get because eventually we may do business, but we are going to build a friendship and a bond with someone who's going to walk off that 30-minute chat thinking, okay, whoa, I got that. Like I can use that in this next meeting coming in. That strategy I can use without any technology. There's things I can just do differently. So the website is a great one. There's a contact us page. My email is just ben@Visiting Media. I talk to clients constantly throughout the day. And then of course the good old fashioned telephone, but I won't mention that here.
Great. Well, that does it for another episode of The Modern Hotelier. So whether you're watching us or listening, we appreciate you. Until next time, thank you.
Today's episode is sponsored by Visiting Media. Are you ready to revolutionize the way you sell your spaces and experiences? Introducing Sales Hub by Visiting Media, your ultimate platform for immersive sales and hospitality. Imagine leveraging the power of immersive content to ensure customers book quickly and easily. With Sales Hub, your sales team can effortlessly combine stunning immersive assets with all other sales collateral, share them in any way the customer prefers, and distribute them through all your marketing channels. They can also track and measure usage to refine their engagement approach and stay ahead of the competition. This streamlined workflow means your team can focus on what matters most, delivering the best experience for your customers. Plus, our analytics dashboard provides real-time insights into team activities, property performance, and channel distributions. Simplify your sales process and amplify your conversion rates with Sales Hub by Visiting Media. Ready to see it in action? Request a demo today at visitingmedia.com and unlock the full potential of immersive selling.
You made it to the end of The Modern Hotelier. Thanks for listening. The Modern Hotelier is produced by Make More Media. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're listening on YouTube, or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you know a guest or sponsor that would be a good fit, feel free to email us at hello@themodernhotelier.com. If you'd like to get some Modern Hotelier merch, click the merch button on modernhotelier.com or click the link below. Thanks and have a great day.